The first one? Oh, it is. Wow. Ooh, perfect. I'll tweet it right now. Look at you go, Ty. Look at you go. You problem solved. We're talking about Speedy Gonzalez. Is that a bad thing? Can I not say that?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Hey there, welcome to the Gyro Step, a Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Blue Wire Podcast Network and GSPN. I misspoke. We're doing it live. Also, just big disrespect to Mr. Jordan Treske and the Win in Six podcast. This is a Gyro Step and Win in Six crossover episode. All three of us are here, Jordan, myself, and Rohan Katti of the Gyro Step, soon after the Milwaukee Bucks thumped, I believe is the word I used in the YouTube title, the New York Knicks in their first ever in-season tournament knockoff game to advance to Las Vegas. We are going to have lots of thoughts from this game, and then we'll look forward to the matchup with the Pacers. We'll do our Bucks stock market returns from the game. A lot of fun stuff coming up. Very excited to be live on YouTube, hopefully with a bunch of also excited Bucks fans for this one. But first, as always, Rohan, Jordan, how's it going?
I mean, doing well. That was a great game by the Bucks. It was sensational, positive 3-point shooting variance for the Bucks. It's always fun when it's on your side and it's the team you're really pulling for. So that's it was a fun experience. It was a fun night, fun game.
I am overjoyed. The ratings havers, the Nielsen watchers.
Won't anyone think of the ratings, Jordan?
Won't anyone think of it? The Bucks beat down the Knicks, and I know this is a close game in the first half. It was not that close in the second half. The wheels fell off for the Knicks. Julius Randle came down to earth, and the Bucks kept shooting the lights out. It was as dominant of a performance as we've seen from the Bucks this year. It was probably the biggest margin of victory that we've seen from the Bucks this year too. I don't think they've had a 24-point win outside of
they beat the Hornets.
Yeah, they beat
I keep forgetting about this Charlotte game.
Yeah, they beat the tar off the Hornets.
But yeah, this is a good Knicks team, and the Bucks reduced them to rubble. They just tore them down. And it was good to see them put in a performance like this in a very emphatic way.
146 points against coming into, probably not coming out of it, but coming into this game was the third best defense and the 12th best offense per defensive and offensive rating in the NBA, New York Knicks. Kind of funny, on the preview pod I did with Andrew Claudio of Knicks Film School. I know Rohan also had a good one with Knicks Fan TV. Two great Knicks pods here, also on Blue Wire, worth shouting out and worth checking out too. You know, we kind of laughed. That game, the first Bucks-Knicks game, was kind of a turning point for both teams. The Bucks started dropping, got that win. Everything's been different since then. The Knicks, that was kind of the low point for Julius Randle. They kind of got it together since, and Randle was outstanding. And really, you know, this would have been a crazy game if it's a more normal Julius Randle game. Obviously, a bunch of things go either way, but Randle was great. But 146 points for Milwaukee on 32 assists. They shot 59.8% from the field, 60.5% from three, 68.4% from free throw. So not ideal on that number, but hey, it's really, I think all the misses were Giannis. That's going to happen sometimes. This was a dominant offensive showing, and it was just very exciting to see, something we've talked about a lot is, much to the chagrin of some folks, the Bucks have not just run Dame Giannis pick and roll. They've run a fairly egalitarian offense. I mean, Dame and Giannis have the ball a lot. They take a lot of shots, but the Bucks keep everyone involved. That seemed to really pay off in this game. I mean, you go up and down the box score. Everyone who played outside of Andre Jackson's 4 seconds in the real part of the game shot 50% or better from the field. And most of them much better than 50%. Like, literally, the 9 players who played were all offensive weapons at some point in the game. That's really encouraging. It's great to see just the whole team. I mean, the shooting is an outlier. The looks they open up, though, I think have not. I mean, I think you're going to have games like this when it's just constant shots at the rim, constant open threes. So just such a fun offensive game. So great to see just the whole team click, even with the injuries that we've talked about.
Yeah, it's just been up and down the roster, like you said, Ty, just consistent offensive performance in this game. And I'm glad you pointed out it was at different points of the game when different times when it was needed at different times is what I'm trying to say. Like you had Bobby Portis coming in, and we'll talk about Bobby. It was a performance for Bobby Portis. I'll put it that way. But like you have him in the second quarter, sort of having like a little 5 points run by himself right there, sort of getting the Bucks a little bit ahead. And then you have like Malik Beasley coming in, and he was consistent all game, but especially in like the second half, that fourth quarter, he started to open things up a lot. And of course, you have Khris starting out hot. You have Giannis starting to extend that lead in the third quarter. And you have Dame sort of pulling the Bucks a little bit ahead in that second quarter when he went on a 13-0 run by himself. And it's just like, yeah, what are you supposed to do when this team is firing on all cylinders? That's what this team is built to do now. They are not a defense first team. They are an offense first team. The Bucks have done a complete shift from being a team where you have to grind out possessions to it's a track meet. You're going to have to outscore us in order to win. And when the Bucks are doing this, you can't outscore.
Yeah, I totally agree with Rohan. The offense, just the sheer level of firepower up and down the entire starting lineup is ridiculous. We can easily look at all these runs of how Giannis set the tone early on. Even when it was the Knicks, but let's face it was Julius Randle really being the kind of thorn in their side during the first half. I was not sweating knowing that, it's Dame carrying the load here. It's Khris hitting shots out the dribble. We know Malik Beasley is if you give him an open shot, and the Bucks generated plenty of them, they drove in the paint, kicked it out to corners, and they saw daylight. The Knicks, this is a really good Knicks defense. Really good. It's Tom Thibodeau. We know all the superlatives with a Tibbs coach defense. And what to me was really shocking was just the way that the Bucks just kind of broke them down systematically and pretty easily. Like, it was not like they had to work really hard to just get through this really, stout defense. Like Mitchell Robinson, he was a big factor in the first in-season tournament game, non-factor today. The way that they were shooting the lights out last time out to tonight was just even more impressive in just the way that they have built that chemistry with that starting unit, and then it's just trickled on down with, if insert campaign for Dame Lillard, or find, I don't know, MarJon hitting threes like he did against the Knicks last time.
Your guy AJ Green.
AJ Green, he had a good first quarter run there too. It's just the way that this offense can click and just hit shots. It's not always going to be this NBA record level of production, but they're up there. And I know there's been a lot of consternation about the defense and stuff like this, but this offense is just, it's better than we've ever seen it. It's so crazy.
Yeah, so during the game in our Discord, you can join and find all the links to all of our stuff if you're not familiar at gspn.info. And while I'm doing plugs, everyone watching, please smash the like button. Helps get the link to more, or it gets the video to more people on YouTube. You can also, share the link yourself if you really want to go above and beyond. I always appreciate that. The history you're talking about, Jordan, is the Knicks. The last time the Knicks gave up 37 points for each of the first 3 quarters, the Bucks scored 37, 38, 37, was March 2nd, 1962. when Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 points.
So it's never happened before.
Rohan, don't. This is on the level of thinking the moon landing is fake to me.
Is this real?
People really think it didn't happen.
What?
I know. Like the other teams.
Played in Hershey, Pennsylvania, for God's sakes. Of course it happened.
Like the other team is just like, yeah, we're just going to let them go along with it. I mean, they had to change they were a Robin. I know. They were a Robin Lopez 3 away from scoring 37 in all quarters, by the way. They ended with 34 in the fourth quarter. It was almost the 8th time in franchise history the Bucks have scored 150 in a game. They've only done it twice since '89. So there was a lot of history on display in this game. Now Andrew Snyder agrees with Rohan, which this probably isn't Rohan's even real take. That's the thing. Rohan just knows how to needle away at the fabric of my being. So one thing I want to talk about with the defense, and we'll get back to the offense, we'll go player by player, but I just found this really interesting, and it's felt like kind of a focus to me lately. So the Knicks shot below average from 3, and you could talk about what the looks were, what they weren't. 30% is pretty low, 30.4%. But they only attempted 23. Do you know who, that doesn't matter who, do you know how many threes per game the least three-point shooting team takes this season? So what their average is?
28.
Jordan, you want to try?
I was going to say 28, so I'll just do the Price is Right, 29.
29.4, the Lakers. So the Knicks, congratulations, Jordan. The Knicks take more than 6 fewer threes than the team last. And it did feel to me, I mean, some of that is Randall's just cooking. It has felt like the Bucks are starting to run teams off that three-point line more and go, you know what? If we kind of play into this bud ball where we're going to make you shoot mid-rangers and stuff, with our offense the way it is, we don't even have to be that good. The math just gets really hard for you.
So that is kind of barking up this theory that I had watching this game, is that Julius Randle I view him as he's an all NBA level player when he has everything going. He's a good player. I would much rather accept a 40-point game from him than Jalen Brunson. We saw how it looked like with the Knicks barreling down last time in Milwaukee a month ago or whatever it was. And just how he affects the defense a lot different than Julius Randle. It's very easy to just get stuck on Julius Randle, and the way he ISOs, it slows down the offense. He's a very just methodical kind of guy. Jalen Brunson has those capabilities, but you have that in a point guard that can dissect offenses and make pinpoint passes. Julius Randle, that's why I didn't really sweat the Knicks kind of trying to play this shootout run and gun type game with the Bucks, because eventually you just can't outlast them. That is, if there is one thing that I'm believing in this Bucks team and just where they are at, you can outshoot them sometimes, you can rebound them sometimes, but you just can't outlast them. And I just felt like it was inevitable to see this kind of second half come down for the Knicks, and to see the Bucks just kind of, keep on trucking kind of thing.
Yeah, it's a team where now, if you're the Bucks, if you're an opposing defense and you're an opposing team, if you want to get into a shootout with them, like you said, Jordan, you just can't keep up. The Bucks have too many weapons. They have too many good, consistent shooters. They have too many guys, not just shooters, but guys. I think I forget who it was. I think it was Kevin Harlan on the broadcast said that Malik Beasley is a guy who finds his own shot. And I think that's a good way to put it, because he's not like only a good three-point shooter. He's a good three-point shooter who will go and find his own shots. Like, he will make sure he gets shots up. He won't be like a 2-attempt a game, 40% for three-point shooter type of guy. Like, this Bucks team is filled with guys who are decisive with the basketball and will go get shots if they find an opportunity. So you can't, and especially with the players on this team, and starting with Dame and Giannis, and then you add Khris into the mix too, there's just too many weapons, and the supporting cast is also offensively gifted. So you can't keep up with them.
We're just quickly on the Knicks offense again. To your point, Jordan, despite having 41 points, which I actually didn't realize he got there, on 73% shooting, plus another 11 points from 12 attempts at the free throw line, Julius Randle accomplishing all that, the Knicks lost his 36 and a half minutes by 21 points. It didn't matter. He put up 41 points on 19 shots, and it didn't matter. I think a big part of that, you could tell, I think, a little more effort on Jalen Brunson in this game. He took 22 shots, but 10 of 22 for 24 points. Missed all 5 of his threes. I don't think he had very many good looks. A lot of them where he was trying to match Dame, and it's like, Jalen Brunson, a nice player. There's levels to this. That's Dame.
Can't do that against Bucks point guards anymore.
That's a different. You're not going to win that battle anymore. Trying to match with the Bucks. Yeah, well, speaking of Drew, the Bucks are now a half a game back of first place in the East, by the way, because the Celtics lost. So they are moving on up in the standings, despite maybe not even being a good basketball team, depending on who you ask. But the Bucks offense, let's get back to Giannis and Dame, which we did it again. In fairness, talking about the 146, you kind of have to talk about Giannis and Dame, and we mentioned them a bit. Giannis in this game thought he might have to leave the game early in the first quarter because he fell on Mitchell Robinson, and you could tell he twisted his ankle, he stayed down, he kind of got up and hobbled back into the play, and literally through my mind, I'm like, he's getting a little older now. Maybe he can't just shake those off anymore. Maybe we're gonna have to see if the Bucks can do it without him. Nope, stays on the court, works it out, just keeps going. Superhuman.
Scores like the next 2 possessions.
Yeah, and I was just like, is this just adrenaline? No, he looked like fine the rest of the game. I don't
He
understand.
just shakes it he just tightens the shoelace. He does the LeBron. It's like that. It's like that gif of Captain America in the Avengers where he just tightens the shield over his broken arm or whatever. It's like,
or
let's go.
Henry Cavill in Mission Impossible with the little remember his fists?
Yeah, pocket appears out of nowhere in that gif.
I'll make a superhero healing reference too, and Batman fixes his own broken back in The Dark Knight Rises.
I mean, the Mission Impossible wasn't a superhero movie.
Oh, but the guy played Superman.
Tom Cruise is a modern day superhero.
That's true.
He's real, damn it.
Sure,
but Giannis really he was dominant. He was imposing in this game, and he did have some foul trouble. Like, he sat in that second quarter a lot because he picked up 3 fouls. Because Julius Randle is one of the few guys in the league who can sort of give Giannis his own medicine in terms of contact, driving to the rim. Like, he plays a similar brand of bully ball. It's just less effective. It's not a shot. He's just not as good a player as Giannis.
Yeah.
But Giannis is just dominating on the interior. He's done taking these stupid threes. He's just back to methodically cutting his way towards the defense, setting his teammates up. 10 assists in this game. And that's because he was reading defenses really well. Once everyone collapsed on him, he was able to find guys either in the corner, in the dunker spot a few times. He had some crazy passes in this game. And it's just good to see that Giannis, it's like, he's comfortable operating with this much space. That's almost like it's the ideal type roster you build around a guy like Giannis. It's just like space beyond belief, and he's going to thrive on the offensive end. It's crazy how that works. And it's just, it was a dominant performance by the most dominant player in the league.
I can't say anything better than that.
The possession where it looked like he was going to take a jumper on the right block, Mitchell Robinson was guarding him. His second half, it was around when the Knicks went on. They got back, especially, I don't know if it was early fourth or if it was in the third. In the early fourth, the Knicks went on a little 7-0 run in the Bucks.
7-0 run, yeah.
Yeah. Somewhere around, it was second half. And I was like, if this is a jumper, this could go bad. And he kind of fakes. And you can always kind of see, he stands there for a minute. And he doesn't take it right away, but usually that means. And I don't know, maybe Mitchell Robinson thought that too. He just gathers, gets right past Mitchell Robinson enough, gets the shoulder into him a little bit, and just lays it in. And it was like the strength and burst are still there, but he's so under control now. And you could see he got a bad charge. I mean, it shouldn't have been a charge in the first half. And I think he had 3 fouls at that point. He ended the game with 3 fouls. He's able to play within himself without losing that explosiveness, work the angles, work contact smarter. I mean, I think really deserves a lot of credit. And we've given it to him for sure, but he was so in control in this game. 15 of 22, 1 for 1 from 3, only taking the smart threes now. 4 for 9 of free throws, so a bad free throw shooting game, but those will happen for Giannis. 10 assists, 3 steals, 8 rebounds, 4 turnovers, 35 points. Just dominant. I mean, what more can you say?
Nothing. I
Nothing.
can't say anything. He's been just really really good, even at Giannis's already very high standard.
So speaking of really, really good, Damian Lillard in this game had 13 shot attempts plus 8 free throws. So we'll say 17 shooting possessions. We won't try and fudge the numbers. On those 17 shooting possessions, he had 28 points, added another 7 assists for good measure, plus 3 rebounds, a steal, and a block. 5 for 7 from deep. Actually shot better from 3 than from 2. I think anyone who was worried about the efficiency can not worry anymore. I mean, this was like the kind of game, and I think we've said this after almost every game, the kind of game you go get a Damian Lillard for, no matter what the cost is. I mean, he's unguardable. The pick and roll with him and Brook or Giannis, it's just so effortless. And the crazy thing is that shot is pretty much just there every time. Like whenever he wants it, he can step into that shot, and he's clearly getting into a rhythm on that shot. And I really don't know what you do, because if you send 2 to him, you're just dead in the interior.
This is what we imagined when we saw Damian Lillard being a second option on this team, being the second best player on this team. Is like, yeah, he's massively overqualified to be your second best player. And that's how you have to build a roster out, is everyone has to be overqualified for their role, except for maybe the top guy, but that's really how things work. But it's just like these type of games are where you see, yeah, Dame as a second option will be like, yeah, I'm just going to go step into my own shots. I'm going to find my own shots. I have the rhythm. I have the space. And if I'm not feeling it, I can just give it to the big fellow who's just dominating, right? Like it's a perfect microcosm of what this Bucks team can really be. And why I think this game is really important. Obviously, they're not going to shoot this well again, like you mentioned, Jordan. But they're just it's the shot quality that is what really, really impressed me in this game. This is against a hard-nosed defense, and you have Damian Lillard on 17 shooting possessions, you want to say, getting 28 points, and it looks effortless. It looks easy. And he's also getting other teammates involved in the flow of the offense. And by the way, like I mentioned, Giannis is doing his thing. And Khris, we have to talk about Khris later, but you have all 3 of these guys firing on all cylinders. But yeah, Dame 28 points, efficient shooting. That's what you want to see. Like this is an ideal Dame as a Buck game, not necessarily like taking over for the entire game, but portions where he has the show to himself, where he can assert himself as that top 75 all-time player that he is, and say, yeah, I'll go get mine, but I don't have to for the entirety of the game because the rest of the team is around there to pick me up.
Yeah. Second game this season where he's hit 5 threes. I think the biggest kind of it's not a game changer. We're talking about one of the best shooters of all time. But for me, it's like how we think of Dame Lillard. It's getting downhill. It's hitting those deep threes, pace and space, and just how modern offenses work. For me, him hitting those kind of like off balance Khris Middleton type shots in mid range where he's kind of probing the defense. He kicks it back and has enough separation where he can just throw it up there. He started to hit those at a solid clip, and it's enough to kind of throw defenses off balance where it's like, okay, we know if you're going to get it within the 3-point line, we're going to, put bodies in the paint. It's not really rocket science how they're going to defend him that way. But the things that he's doing just to kind of pepper in little things like that, it adds to just kind of this overall how he's finding the offense and how he's been able to orchestrate the offense. And Rohan's completely right. We don't need Dame Lillard to take over. We don't even need Giannis to take over. The fact that we're talking about this entire starting unit clicking the way that it is offensively, even on an outlier shooting performance, it just shows you that these guys have gotten enough chemistry and has a lot more room to grow. It already is at a level where they know how to play through with one another, and they're not missing a beat, even if guys are not having the best performances or anything like that. It was as quiet of a dominating performance as we probably would expect from Damian Lillard, and that includes a personal 13-point run at the end of the first half. So it's stuff like that like that's what excites me about where the Bucks are already at, and where we're talking about this in game 21. There's 61 more of this regular season, or 62 if they keep going on this cup run. And I really like what we're seeing from the offense. I mean, it's hard not to like anything from what we're seeing from the offense so far.
Do you guys know what the Bucks' record is when Damian Lillard scores 20 points in a game this season?
Six, 10-2.
Rohan?
10-2. I'll go. What should I go? I'll go 13-1.
14-1 after tonight. Very close, Rohan.
I was thinking about I pulled the stat up yesterday.
Okay, somebody
threw
it in the
no,
Discord.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Oh, that was a good pull then. Someone threw it in the Discord earlier, and I had to go check and make sure. Like when he's had a pretty, that's a pretty normal offensive game for him. We know Giannis; it's very rare if he plays a whole game for him to not to score in that area. I mean, the Bucks have just basically won every single game. Like that's a ridiculous stat. Like it takes a severe outlier Dame game for them to lose so far this season, except for the one game I'm guessing was Boston.
And he didn't play 2 games as well.
Yeah. So he didn't. When he plays, and they've lost both of the games he hasn't played. It was Boston. He scored 27. They lost by 3. So the Bucks have been just incredible when he's at his normal scoring self this season, which makes sense as we've talked about. It's a team built around offense. Rohan, you mentioned Khris. Another stat that jumped out to me from tonight's game: Khris, Giannis, and Dame combined for 24 assists. And I think that really speaks to what we talked about. Everyone contributed because the 3 primaries operated in that space that they have, that they generate, and they just found guys, and guys, they made plays all night long.
They found each other.
They found each other and everyone. But yeah, they found each other too, and those are the most fun plays. But Khris in 26 minutes, solid minutes number, 14 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, 1 steal, 2 turnovers, 6 for 12 from the field, and a fun development. The threes are falling, at least tonight. 2 for 3 from deep. That was like the one part of Chris's offensive game we hadn't really seen yet. Awesome to see him knock down 2 of his 3 attempts. Rohan, what else did you see from Cash Money Middleton in this game?
I think it's I'm glad you point out his assist numbers, because he's been doing a lot more ball handling as of late, which I think is indicative of him sort of ramping back up into his role in this offense and on this team. Because even though we've seen similar sort of minutes before, we're starting in these last couple of games to see the ball in his hands more. He's starting to feel comfortable dictating the flow of the offense. You'll see guys like Malik Beasley get a rebound and just give it to Khris and go and start running in transition or getting their offense set up. Because Khris is feeling more comfortable getting other guys set up. Like we'll see more Giannis Khris pick and rolls. We'll see more Khris Brook pick and rolls. We'll see more Khris just sizing up guys, because he's starting to come back into his own. I know we've talked about this at length before the season and the early parts of the season, but Khris starting to come into his own. It's early December. There's, like you mentioned, Jordan, there's 61 games left in this regular season, and plus potentially a random in-season tournament championship game, which counts towards nothing besides itself. But you'll see, Khris has plenty of time. He has plenty of time to get things right, and we're starting to see things go in the right direction. He's just so comfortable as a playmaker now, and I think that's probably where his role starts to develop as he ages, and his body starts to let him down a little bit, unfortunately. He's just going to be needing to make reads, make good passes, get other guys set up, because it might be a little more difficult to break guys down on his own. But he's looking more and more comfortable doing that. This is a level of playmaking from Khris that we haven't seen before. And that's because he's usually sharing the court with Giannis and Dame. We're seeing a lot of more minutes nowadays with those 3 on the court together, compared to trying to stagger Khris away from those Giannis Dame minutes into the bench lineup. And I'm sure, I still think that Khris plus bench is a good lineup, especially when it's those times when Giannis and Dame has to sit. If that ever has to happen in big game situations, which I don't think it does.
Well, they got, but they can steal a couple minutes.
Exactly. Exactly. They can steal minutes because you have a guy like Khris, who is another capable ball handler, offensive weapon, playmaker. And we're seeing him really, really thrive with Giannis and Dame because, like I mentioned when you were bringing up assist numbers initially, Ty, you start to see these guys sort of feeding into each other. It's not just Giannis and Dame getting comfortable with each other. It's Giannis, Dame, and Khris getting comfortable with each other. They're starting to find each other in rhythm. You're starting to see, oh, Giannis, Dame pick and roll. Okay, cool. You have Khris on the weak side corner trying to initiate a tertiary action. You see Khris and Giannis get into an action. Okay, cool. So we have gravity force towards Dame, who's running on a foot pin down. That leaves Giannis more room on his roll. Like these things feed into each other because each other has such great skill sets that getting those three integrated together is so important. And it's why I think these assist numbers are going up for all of them, is because they're able to find each other in this space. And I think it's really, really good to see and nice to see as this offense sort of starts to build upon itself, is Giannis, Dame, and most importantly, Khris. I think I've mentioned before, Khris is sort of the canary in the coal mine for this Bucks offense. If Khris is not doing well, that is a sign that this offense is not doing well, because Khris should be the guy who's the release valve when teams load up against Giannis and Dame. If Khris is not doing well, that is not a good sign. That means that defenses are allowed to load up on guys like Giannis and Dame. But if Khris is finding himself within the flow of the offense and finding himself in rhythm, hitting good shots, taking good shots, it's unstoppable.
Yeah, I agree with you in terms of we see it when the Bucks don't have Khris. We haven't seen him in the back-to-back kind of nights because thankfully the Bucks haven't had a back-to-back in quite some time. But you see the difference of just whether it's him not playing at all or whether it's just a down night for him. It's a huge thing for this team, and as they're still getting to that point of familiarizing themselves with each other and gaining that chemistry and playing together. I thought tonight, side note, I thought Adrian Griffin's rotations were like perfect. I thought he coached a really good game in terms of got guys on the floor, didn't really overuse them. Obviously, Khris's minutes getting a little bit up more and more is a good sign in that manner too. But I just thought between that and the fact that, obviously we talked about Giannis and Dame, but Khris's ability to hit shots, his threes falling, the passes that he was making tonight, whether obviously the alley-oop was just insane. The only pass that you can make to a 7-foot guy like Giannis Antetokounmpo, or even like he threw this, like it was him kind of backing down. It was like kind of like a scramble mode possession. And he just like Jordan Love threw a corner pass to, I think it was maybe Campaign. And it was like only like really Khris can make that kind of pass. It was not a good pass, but it was like there was no one else. He's surveying the floor, and it's stuff like that that just kind of keeps the offense moving, keeps it side to side. We know, like, whenever you see like coaches at halftime interviews and all that stuff, it's always about side to side action, keeping the defense on their toes, rotating them, and all that stuff. That to me is like, obviously we know how that is the way that the Bucks offense is supposed to operate. And when it's firing on that principle and everybody's kind of getting a taste of just, hitting shots, making shots, and getting what's, coming their way. It's just it's a fun sight to see. We've seen the Bucks be this dominant juggernaut, but like, again, it's a lot different how they're operating than how we've seen it before, where they can get on this crazy shooting run before. If this feels more sustainable, this feels more like just systematically breaking teams down. And that to me is really fun.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like when they have the primaries out there, if they don't hand the ball to the opposition, which again was one of their issues in the first half, and it's teams are going to have turnovers. The Bucks are just prone to some bad ones, and then the defense is always a little strained. When you give the offense to the other team any advantage, that's when things get real ugly for Milwaukee's defense. But like when they run actions with like most of the starters out there, it feels like it's a good look almost every time. Like the shot that's taken, I mean, sometimes Giannis will freelance, whatever. Brook will freelance. Everyone at times, takes a non-ideal shot. But most of the time, if they run 1-2 actions, it's a wide open shooter. It's somebody at the rim with pretty minimal, defense. It's a wide open mid-range shot. It's, Dame, all of those open pull-up threes we talked about. The process has just felt really good, and this felt like a game where the Knicks were just a little slow to shooters. And in the second half, we talked about this is a well-coached, hard-nosed third defense in the NBA coming in. They were shellacked. You could tell, like, they were just they were running back after the Bucks had another shot. Like, you can see a difference sometimes in teams. They had the shoulders just like, dude, come on. This is like the Celtics-Pacers game. And we'll talk a little bit about the Pacers, and we'll do a full preview pod of that matchup as well. But, like, I was really impressed with Indiana because, like, the Celtics hit some big threes late in that game to kind of either take the lead or tie it up again. And Indiana they just kept running, right? Like, they were totally unfazed. The Knicks, it ended up getting to him by that fourth quarter. You could tell there's just like, dude, this sucks. Like, we can't do anything about this. And they couldn't. On the Khris note with him having a lot of time, before we move to Brook, who I'm really excited to talk about tonight. This time last year, December 5th, Khris played his second game of the season as part of his first ramp up. So he would go on to play another 6 games, or 5 games actually, after this, and then not play at all until January 23rd. So already eons farther ahead. Funny enough, he started off playing 26 minutes that first recovery time last time, and then the second ramp up started around 15 and built up from there. So that certainly seemed like a lesson learned for Khris in coming back from any sort of a not playing, knee injury sort of situation, whatever injury, whatever surgery. So certainly is ahead of where he was last year by a wide margin in terms of games played and availability so far. Brook Lopez. I said at one point during the game, like, there's some Bucks defensive possessions where he is Atlas and the whole defense is on his shoulders. It's just like, if it's Brook but not Giannis, it's literally like you could tell everyone else on the floor is like, we just got to get him close enough to Brook. Brook can do it. And he did. And he did do it. Brook Lopez in this game. Game high plus 28 for the Bucks, which is ridiculous given how well Giannis and Dame played. 9 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks in 33 minutes. 50% from the field. He was 3 of 4 from 2 and 1 of 4 from 3. Continues to drive the ball, continues to pass. I think him as a roller with Dame, like, Brook's got that mastered. It's still a process for Giannis. Brook is like, I know what to do. I know the passes to make. I know how to set the screen. Like, it's just beautiful. Dame's pocket passing, by the way, just art. I don't know how he does it. Through 2 guys every time. I think it's gotten...
He's used to dealing with multiple guys around him.
Well, I do, and that's why he's so good at it, but it is still wild just to see, like, it's so routine to him to pass through a double. Where we've seen Bucks ball handlers, it's not been very routine. For Dame, it's no problem. But Brook, just like, it's an art form on both ends. Like, for a guy who moves as slow as he does, the way he can impact the game on both ends, the amount of control he has on the back. I was just watching this game like, oh my, this guy is number 11 forever. We all know that's rafters, but he is just incredible, man. I'm gushing.
It's what else can you say about Brook Lopez? Obviously not the biggest scoring impact tonight as he has in sort of recent games, but I attribute that a lot to Mitchell Robinson, who's a guy who's given Brook Lopez a lot of problems in the past. But just the way he impacts the game. And were there a lot of possessions where like the Bucks were forcing guys into little mid-range floaters and he couldn't really get out there to contest? Yeah. But was he allowing a lot of shots at the rim? No. He did pick up 4 fouls, but the Bucks had 4 guys get 4 fouls in this game. It was ridiculous.
First half, if you breathed on Julius Randle, that was a foul. So I'm not going to hold fouls against anybody in this game.
Yeah, that's completely fair. And it's just like, yeah, sure, he's going to get these fouls. Like, the Knicks are a hard physical team. Like, they're a big physical team. And it's just like, yeah, you're going to give up stuff like that at the rim sometimes. But for the most part, he was doing a good job protecting the rim. And just on offense, he's just like a hub now. And it's crazy. I didn't think there was another level of Brook Lopez offense to unlock, but here we are.
I mean, it's the added space, you know. It's putting him in the middle of the floor, and I know we kind of probably the running joke early on in his Bucks tenure was if it goes to Brook, it's not going to go to anyone else. And by and large, that was a good. I mean, that's kind of how it is. He's going to put it up. We all know that. But as an improved shooter and as a guy that can always just kind of reinvents himself or add little wrinkles and just kind of extends his ability to play at a high level in the NBA in his 16th NBA season, guy just does these things like once a game that you're just like, how does he keep doing stuff like that? The fact that he drove by Mitchell Robinson, who's not like,
dude, that possession, I think Newmont called it out in chat too. That was just beautiful.
Crazy. Like, it's not like he's very mobile for how big, 7'1"?
Mitch is legit 7 for sure. Yeah.
And it's not like, you know, it's not ideal to have him guard on the perimeter or guard in space, but like, we're talking about Brook Lopez. We're not talking about Damian Lillard taking him out in space. Brook Lopez just goes through him. It's so, he does those drives and it just makes it, I cackle in delight of just like, it's just great. And
Shout out to Vin Baker, man.
Vin Baker. But even on defense, like, it ended in a foul, but the possession to me where things started to really, like, I could just feel this game going even further in the Bucks direction. Everybody's switching. It's really good possession. Brook kind of goes, I think it might have been Brunson or Quickly. I can't remember what guard it was. But he goes out, Quickly or Brunson is on the corner three, and he gets through him, it was RJ Barrett. It was RJ Barrett. Because RJ Barrett kind of did the foul of getting through his arm like he did in the first half. And Brook was like, that is not a foul, but they called it against Brook. The way that he was a bit like digging in to guard a guy that's on the perimeter and switching out on him, we've seen it before. It can vary to success or failure. But the way that he was just kind of locking in on a very long defensive possession just kind of showed me the level of just, you know, when things are clicking, we see how this whole puzzle kind of goes together. And it's, again, I'm just going to keep repeating myself. I'm very excited to see how things are coming together.
Yeah, a couple of things the Bucks did surprisingly well. The Knicks only scored 50 points in the second half of this game, 24 in the third and 26 in the fourth quarter, and only like 2 minutes-ish when, you know, the teams had really given up and it was true garbage time. So the defense, in large part due to Brook, but I did think the intensity in the half court was pretty good throughout the night, and it really showed itself in that second half. Also, I believe the Knicks had 7 offensive rebounds at the half, because I remember looking, and they were on pace for a pretty normal game. They averaged 13.5 offensive rebounds per game. They were on pace for 14. They only ended the game with 12. So even despite missing a lot of shots in the second half, and this is a good time to bring it up while we're talking about Brook, because his box outs are so instrumental, but New York only had probably, I think, 5 offensive rebounds in the whole second half. I mean, when you're looking at Knicks Bucks, you go, what do the Knicks need to win? Outstanding guard play. Didn't get it from any guard on their roster. Need the offensive rebounds. Didn't get it. Need to, use that defense, hold down Milwaukee's offense. They couldn't. And I don't want to ascribe everything to this. Like, I think they're getting better at executing the defense every game. To your earlier point about Griffin, I mean, they switched a lot in this game. It looked good. They wouldn't just randomly break down all the time. I think this team clearly has a couple of gears, and they need to figure out how to get in the high gear more often. Bulls game, cough. But, like, when they're in the high gear, it's different, even defensively. It's not just the offense. Like, they can execute better than we've seen. Like, to start the second half, the starting unit was defending about as well as I can remember seeing. And, again, we've seen that unit. They've played well. They have a good net rating all season.
They did it down the stretch against Atlanta on Saturday. That was like, oh, okay.
We need to win. Okay, yeah, we'll get some. We'll really get some stops. We'll get some turnovers. So really encouraging to see like a Bucks team that struggles defending, especially the perimeter, struggles with giving up offensive rebounds. A game that they felt mattered. Of course, it mattered in season tournament game. Like they were just like, no, we're not going to let this team do that. I come away from this game very encouraged. But Rohan, who do you want to talk about next?
I'm going to talk about Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Rohan. Hey, 100% from the field, 1 offensive rebound, 1 steal. Oh,
I'm telling you.
you're gonna be caping for an upstock at the end of the pod.
I'm telling you, those 2 minutes and 29 seconds were electric. Let me tell you what. Let's talk about a guy who I think had a very, very underrated performance and was very encouraging. MarJon Beauchamp.
Okay.
In the second quarter, he a few times got switched onto Julius Randle, and he held up. He held up in a game where Giannis was out due to foul trouble, and Julius Randle was bullying his way to the rim every time. One guy on this Bucks team was keeping up with him laterally, and that was MarJon. He was able to not only keep up with him, he had the length to sort of disturb any shots that he was going to try to attempt. He did the best job of any Buck trying to defend Julius Randle in that first half. I thought it was a very, very, very encouraging defensive game from MarJon. Also on the offensive end, he was doing like it wasn't anything that jumps out to you. Like he hit both of his threes. Obviously, that jumps out to you, but it wasn't.
The second three was really a tough one.
A little sidestep, lateral sidestep three. That was money. He did have like one miscue on offense where he just sort of drives to the rim in transition. He's still thinking a little too much.
The one-man fast break is not MarJon's
he overthinks fast breaks.
A 3-on-2, and basically all the Knicks defenders were around him, and he just didn't want to pass it out. He also dropped the ball at the beginning of that. That was a tough, but it was just one possession.
You could see in his head, like, oh man, everyone's on me. But also, there's two guys next to me. They're definitely going to go fan out to them. So I should keep the ball. No, just they're open, pass the ball. But other than that, I thought MarJon was really, really solid, showing why he has such a defensive upside. Because, he kept up in this game. And he just, again, it wasn't the greatest offensive performance, but it wasn't anything like bad. He was taking shots that he needed to. He was taking like decisive shots like that sidestep three. I was impressed.
Yeah, it has not been a positive week. We've seen kind of very dismal performances where it's like it looks like MarJon was lost. I felt like tonight he got back to where he should be. That's his role. It's to defend really well, shoot the ball when it comes your way when you're stationed behind the three-point line. Obviously, you have to improve in fast break situations, but I'll give him to it. It happens. Yeah, it happens to Giannis. Happens to us all. But yeah, I just thought it was he looked a lot more comfortable. It wasn't overthinking it. It came very easily to him. And hitting that second three, again, that's not something we associate with MarJon's game. The fact that it, hit the bottom of the net obviously is kind of a confidence booster. So really good to see him kind of get back in the right track in that way.
I just couldn't agree more. And also want to just quickly call out, I think you guys nailed pretty much everything. Only one foul in 19 minutes, which was the second most for any Bucks player. And as you mentioned, taking on a lot of big defensive assignments in a game where Randle especially was really drawing fouls effectively. Just to really, again, there was the one like deer in headlights possession, so to speak. But overall, a very solid game, probably one of, if not his best game since opening night against the Sixers. I'm sure he's had better box scores, but the whole game was very good from MarJon. Jordan, you're up. Who do you want to talk about next?
Little Malik Beasley.
Are you doing the dance? Your calves not big enough. Oh, I love the dance so much.
I eat crow and AJ Green, but my crow is a lot bigger for Malik Beasley.
I'm here with you. I'm eating the guy.
We know what he can do effectively as a shooter, but the things that he does as a shooter is very different than, say, like a Grayson Allen or a very late stage career Kyle Korver of recent examples. Guy, it's kind of the possession that stood out to me was a very broken down offensive possession. He gets the ball, it circles his way after kind of Giannis, Khris, and Dame are kind of plotting, trying to like find the crack in the defense. Ball goes to Malik Beasley's way. Shot clock is winding down. Brooks sets a deep screen. Really hard shot for Malik Beasley to kind of set back and get to the three-point line. He does it effortlessly. Hits the shot and immediately, I might be mixing this up, but he immediately stays where he is because he's got to pick up Jalen Brunson. And the thing for me is like, he's not like this. We're not going to talk about him as an all defensive candidate this year, as of now, at least. But
hot take.
he played as good of a game defensively to slow down Jalen Brunson and just make him uncomfortable. The things that came very effortlessly for Jalen Brunson last time out when the Bucks played the Knicks just wasn't there. And it was very obvious. A lot of his shots were short. They were just kind of like, we know how he operates. We know how he's operated for quite some time. And I just thought Malik Beasley did as good of as we look at the 6 for 10 shooting from 3. If you look at what he did defensively and the way that he just kind of engaged himself on that end, again, against the Knicks' best perimeter player, that was not easy by any means. And he made it look really, really, really good.
They were matching Malik. Adrian Griffin was matching Malik Beasley with Jalen Brunson for that exact reason, because he was actually giving him a bit of trouble, which was crazy. You mentioned earlier, Ty, I was on Knicks Fan TV pod previewing this game. Shout out to them. Make sure you check them out. Great Knicks coverage on Blue Wire. And I was talking and I was saying, like, yeah, Malik Beasley is a guy who's like, he's coming in. There's the quotes about him being like, he's going to take the toughest assignments. And you sort of laugh. Like, I laughed. I actively laughed at that. And I'd still think it's amusing, but it's not the worst thing I've ever seen.
Just really high praise from Rohan Katti. Just going out of your way to bow at the altar of Malik Beasley.
There are some plays you will see of Malik Beasley playing defense, and you will know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, not tonight.
Not tonight.
He didn't
this
have
season,
his controller didn't die tonight. His controller dies sometimes. The thing about Beasley is I don't ever think it's effort with him. I think sometimes he gets down on himself and misses a beat, and I look at that as a different problem. But like even like the controller died, like that specific play I think was against Chicago, right? Like I think he's like so looking for like a pass or something,
That's
and he
Halliburton.
just. Oh, was that Halliburton?
It was Halliburton.
I think it's happened more than once, but
it has happened
like
twice.
I don't think it's that he just falls asleep. Like I really think he's like really in his head because he wants to do this on defense. He wants to take on the challenge, and as we talked about, like it's admirable. Even he clearly is not an all defensive player. To Jordan's point, it's admirable that a guy who has been an offensive player his whole career and still a great offensive player as he showed in this game is like, no, I'll do that for this team. I want to improve there. I mean, having to take vet minimum kind of makes you probably consider these things more. What a steal, by the way. My God. I mean, he might start all year the way he's been playing. We can talk about those conversations later. I don't think it's relevant right now. But certainly if you're a person who's like, they got to change the starting 5 so they can defend or whatever, no one's been even close. Coming off the bench has been even close to as good or consistent as Malik Beasley. And just the juice he has offensively. I mean, the thing about Grayson, and this isn't to dump on Grayson Allen, it really isn't. But what he'll do, he's so much more comfortable shooting if he has to dribble or move at all, which really matters. I mean, there was the one where he sent Dante flying out of bounds and sat there and made it. But also, like, there's very few guys who shoot a high percentage on high volume, and it's not necessarily a skill thing. It can be conditioning. It's just not many players want to take a ton of threes, to be honest. Like, a lot of guys aren't comfortable doing it, especially on really good teams. Bees will take 10, and he's right up there with Dame in attempts per game. And I find there's very few games where I'm like, oh, that was too many for Bees. Like, he gets good looks. He moves with energy off ball. The ball always finds energy, and he won't hesitate. Like, he takes the shots. There's just such a value in that. He is such a high-volume comfort shooter, and it really, like, having him out there as the guy who's going to be left open a lot is such a luxury, and he is so well suited for that role.
He'll hit the wiggle. He'll do that.
I love the wiggle, the shimmy, whatever we're calling it. I'm such a big fan. My man's going Elvis out there.
We need to get a video of you doing it, Todd.
Maybe.
We need to get you to go in the streets of Oshkosh.
Yeah.
GSPN Wiggle Challenge.
We gotta, but they're listen, I had a ginger shot and a water tonight. I would need to have a different set of beverages if I'm going to be doing the wiggle for public consumption. I'll just say that. I'm saying a video of you hitting a 3 in a basketball court in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, and then hitting the wiggle would go crazy. Now we're really demanding a lot.
Pre-game, before a herd game, Ty gets on the court.
They got to delay the game because it takes me too long to do it. Wait, no, I got it. Trust me. Everyone just wait. I got it this time.
I'll be a rebounder.
We see people struggle. I went to a Bucks game this year where the guy did the jackpot shot and he didn't even get to the 3-pointer. He missed the 3-pointer.
That's tough.
It's NBA threes are hard, man.
Well, they are hard.
With the arena, I mean, it's a lot.
Ty's saying it's the arena's fault. He's like, it's an empty gym. I'm hitting these shots all day.
100%. Unless someone is,
it's the crowd noise.
If no one's
Ty
there,
wants the bubble. He wants the bubble.
Yeah, I'm a bubble shooter for sure.
Ty's a heat culture guy.
I am the TJ Warren of the podcast in many respects.
No, I'm saying Ty. Next time I come up for a Herd game, we're finding a park in Oshkosh and we're doing that and we're getting this video.
Well, there should be some conceit. I shouldn't just have to do this for no reason.
I'll do it too.
That's not good enough. You're gonna look good doing it.
What do you want then?
Let me think of a good, a truly exceptional Bees game.
Okay.
How about 10 made threes? Is that too much? He made 6 tonight.
Ooh, that might be too much.
10's a lot.
What did he hit in that? What game did he go off?
The Raptors?
Yeah, he's gone off in a couple of games. I'm saying 10 because I'm not going to let you talk me down. Because what did you say? Thanasis needs 40 points and I'll buy a jersey. Or no, Chris needs 50 against the Boston Celtics in Boston and I'll buy a jersey. My thing is fine.
I'm in that situation. I'm spending money.
I am just spending my hard-earned social capital. I am losing it.
I think that video will go crazy.
I think too, but not for the right reason. He's hit 8 this year.
Yeah, that's the most he's hit this year.
I'm saying 10.
10 threes? Okay, we have it on the record.
10 threes, I hit a 3 and do the wiggle. 10 threes, I hit a 3 and do the wiggle.
Okay, set in stone.
I feel like Windhorse on the hoop. I'm just getting bullied into doing stuff now. Campaign or Bobby? Oh, it's my pick. Let's talk about Campaign, who I actually thought has put together a pretty nice week and overall a pretty good season from Milwaukee. I think there's certainly the games when he kind of vanishes, but it's nice that it's not just threes or nothing. Like he'll make some nice. He had a nice runner in the Hawks game in the fourth quarter that in the time was a pretty important bucket. In this game was 5 for 6 from the field, 2 for 3 from deep, meaning he did not miss a 2. He's really got that floater down at this point in the year. He also chipped in 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, and 1 turnover. It was a bad turnover in transition. But 12 points off the bench for him, 13 for Bobby, who we saved for last year, which is what we've said, though. The Bucks need that bench contribution. The worst games have been they get nothing from the bench. You know, everyone on the bench, I think, really played well to an extent. But certainly Campaign has been one guy who he's willing to take those shots. I think he's a guy like Griffin seems to trust defensively, but no, he's limited. I think more limited than Beasley probably. It's just tough, I think, with his size. But overall, this was a nice game. He finds ways to contribute, and 12 points in 14 minutes is no joke.
It's good shooting from Campaign. I mean, he's going to be a guy who's consistently sort of, as we've seen throughout this young Bucks season, he has his spells of being in a down shooting slump, a high shooting, like a good shooting streak is what it should be saying. And he's a guy where there were a couple possessions in this game early on where he was a pick and roll ball handler with, I think, Bobby, and he would go drive down the left side towards the rim, like sort of on the outside and like on the baseline side. And he would just like be telegraphing that he's going for a pass. And then like Mitchell Robinson or whoever, Isaiah Hartenstein, I think at the time, would just keep shading towards the pass. And he's like, okay, cool. I'm just going to hit these off glass sort of floater shots. And it's like, yeah, that's the type of shot that Campaign has sort of made a career on, is these sort of weird in between little floater shots. Because he's the small guy. What is he going to do? Like dunk on guys at the rim? No, like he's not going to finish through contact. He's going to get blown away like a twig. Like, no, he has to hit these sort of like these in between sort of leaner shots. And that's what he's good at. So being able to have a guy who can consistently go and do that is good for the Bucks. And also like, he's another guy who's a willing 3-point shooter as well. It's just the defensive side of the ball. I know, Ty, you just said Adrian Griffin sort of trusts him defensively. He's not going to make a lot of mistakes, like overt mistakes on the defensive end. Sometimes he's just going to get overpowered, and there's nothing you can really do about that. But it's an obvious flaw, and it's there, it's present, but it's not an effort thing.
Yeah, I mean, if he's doing his job on offense, whether that's just executing the offense and running it and the bare minimum that way, or if he's hitting shots from three, getting downhill, getting those the funky in between shots that he's made a career of out of, as Rohan said, you'll take what you get defensively. That's kind of what the lot that he's in. We've seen DJ Augustine play for the Bucks. It was very brief.
God.
We've seen.
I was excited about that, Jordan.
I know, we all were, because we're just like, oh, this guy kind of profiles as a guy that would succeed well around Giannis. And the thing about DJ Augustine that you can't really say about campaign, or to the level of campaign,
is that he was traded for an actual winning piece.
Well,
he would just fly out of bounds. I've never seen anything like it. His pick and rolls, he looked like a bowling pin that got hit.
DJ Augustine was really small.
Yeah.
Like, he would just get obliterated, and that would include what he was doing offensively. Like, campaign, like, he had that bad turnover where he's kind of pushing the pace, gets too rushed, and is, like, swarmed by Knicks defenders. But when he's on the ball, like, he has a good sense of just keeping things moving, doing what he needs to do. And that, to me, is like, that's the whole point of why the Bucks got him in the first place, is that we're past the point of the George Hill kind of caretakers, in that sense of just like, we know we'll get from you as a kind of guy that sets the table, but we'll expect you to kind of be a key cog defensively. Campaign is just out there to get buckets if he's, shooting it well. And to me, like, coming after the Hawks game where he really put in his best performance of the season, he kind of did the same things that we saw from that game going into this game, of just hitting those kind of funky in between shots that at the time were really necessary to kind of keep going with the Knicks, and obviously will take it when he's got it going.
Despite falling off from leading the league in three-point shooting, Cameron Payne is still, after this game, at 45.9% from deep. So he's found a rhythm there, and 50% from the field overall. Somehow that is third among fellow vet minimum veterans in the rotation, as Malik Beasley is shooting 46% from three on 6.6 attempts per game. And of course, Jay Crowder, who has not played in a while, is still at 51.6%. I mean, that's going to drop. Bossman 99, thank you, is still at 51.6%. So shout out to John Horst real quick. I mean, we're not doing transactions. We're having too much fun, but this is one hell of a trio of vets to have on vet minimum deals who are really big parts of the rotation and who have played super well. Don't sleep on these guys.
Nice.
There we go.
Oh, nice way to tee me up, Ty. So you mentioned sleep. One thing I like to do is, if you are using the Sleeper app for daily fantasy basketball, I like asking people that question because I know I am. We'll talk about one guy in a little bit, but Bobby Portis, he's been a little bit cold in terms of like his overall production. But he has been showing up on the offensive end of the court. So I'm going to continue to take his go higher on his projections for points and rebounds in his upcoming games. Do you think you know basketball? Then try to turn your basketball knowledge into real money with the Sleeper app, the ultimate fantasy sports app that can turn game day into payday. Just download the Sleeper app and pick more or less on your favorite players. With more stats than any other daily fantasy app, just choose two or more of your favorite players from pregame or live. You can do live betting, picking, which is what I like to do here. Pick more or less from the predicted stats, and you could win up to 100 times your money if your picks win. Bonus, you can use promo code Eurostep, all one word, GYROSTEP, and you'll get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. See Sleeper's terms of use for details. It is currently operational in over 25 states, including the state of Wisconsin. Make sure you check out Sleeper today.
Greatest state in the union. I'm glad you mentioned Bobby Portis there. I've been saying that. I don't know how ironically I've been saying that. It's not shady. I just love Wisconsin. Anyway,
I've been feeling the Wisconsin pride lately too. You know,
it's just a great play. It's just really. We're saying this in December. You know that tells you hell of a state. Hell of a state. I'm glad you brought up Bobby because I wanted to and I forgot to say this, but you just picked it up. That's the chemistry the Bucks are building on display here on this 3-man podcast. But let's start our Bucks stock market combo with Bobby Portis tonight, and we can talk about his game as a whole, and then kind of buzz through the rest of the Bucks who may have had movements.
I'm glad you used buzz because Bobby was getting buzz sawed on defense.
Yeah, he was at one point inbounded the ball to Jalen Brunson for 3 of his points on the night, which was far from ideal. He set some good screens. People called that out. He knocked down some shots. He missed a wide open putback after an offensive rebound early in the game. You know, he scored. I think he ended up with 13 points. I mean, he offered no resistance to Julius Randle. And I found that concerning. I mean, Julius Randle's good. It's not that Bobby should lock down Julius Randle, but that's the kind of offensive player that Bobby should be a pretty good matchup against relatively, right? Like in ISO? I mean, similar body type?
It looked like it initially, right? But then it just didn't happen at all.
Yeah. So that was rough. I guess the question is...
Call him Ruffman. Is that a reference?
What?
That's a reference to... It's like a kid's TV show, I think. Hold on, I'm not
Ruffman?
crazy.
Is that,
Hold on, I'm not crazy.
Is that the one with the dogs who... fight crime?
The Ruffman show.
What?
It's Ruffman and his friends solve science problems and answer questions through.
Ruffman. I don't like the way you say it.
What did you watch this
just Quibi.
Ion Network?
It was PBS Kids.
This is a Quibi exclusive.
I don't think I ever watched. Yeah, I never watched it. It started in 2017. Oh my God, it lasted. Wait, what? There's no way. It lasted 7 days.
How did you know this reference?
October 4th, 2017. Final episode date. First episode date, September 28th.
What the hell?
This is. I want to note. I'm glad we got to a weird Rohan recollection. Everyone's taking my side that it's not weird to not know what year is a leap year off top. I feel very validated. I felt very dumb in the moment.
I agree with you.
It's next year, obviously.
It was an online show that premiered on September 28th, 2017. It ran until
I thought
October
Jordan was going to take us to Bobby Portis, but no, we're on Ruffman. No, you're good.
So it lasted less than a month.
Yeah.
Wow, how do I know what this is? I was not a child when this aired.
I think you watched it, Rohan.
I did not watch this show. Why do I know about this show?
Back to the Ruffman on the basketball court tonight. Bobby, yeah, it was a tough night for him. I would have thought the same thing, that could he handle or hang with Julius Randle when he's got it dialed in? The answer was unequivocally no. And I don't know, you just kind of have to live with it. And I think part of it too was Giannis getting that third foul, and it's like, well, are they going to roll the dice, Vegas? Are they going to roll the dice and play him more, or are they going to go back to Bobby just kind of finish out the half? They obviously go to Bobby to finish out the half, and Julius Randle wasn't really quieted by any means. So, yeah, I think for stock tonight, that's definitely a down. Even when what did he finish with? 9 points, I'm seeing? Or sorry, no, 13 points, 5 of 9 shooting. He did decently on offense, but defensively, it was just not there.
So the Rough Ruffman show was actually a follow-up to Fetch with the Rough Ruffman, which lasted 5 seasons and was 100 episodes. So I'm not insane, okay?
He teamed you up so good to talk about Bobby. And you just brought more Rough Ruffman to the show instead.
I mean, I just had to make sure. I was like, why? I'm like crying right now. Why do I know about this show on PBS Kids that aired for a month?
Sammy in chat said the yellow dog named Ruff. It sounds like
this one first aired in 2006 and then went till 2010.
Great.
In June 2008, the series received its first Emmy for Best Original Song for its theme.
I rest my case.
Sure. What was your case?
Rough Ruffman gets an upstock.
No. We're not putting that on the sheet, please.
But Bobby, I think Andrew says is Rohan having a stroke. I think I am. Yeah, I think I'll agree with a Bobby down.
Yeah, I thought he played better in the second half, but I'm fine if we're gonna say not well enough to avoid the downstock because I was pretty incensed with the first half. So I think that is a fair valuation. Fair if tough. Hope to see a big Bobby bounce back. In the rest of this tournament, they will need him. But let's go through. I mean, I think pretty confident. Just slap one each on Giannis and Dame.
Yeah.
That seems fair for sure. Khris? Jordan's always ready to give one to Khris.
I think so. I think Khris has been teetering on an up for a little bit. He hasn't gotten an up in like 7 games. Yeah. So I think so.
7 assists will kind of do it too.
Hit the threes again.
Yeah.
Wasn't noticeably bad defensively, I don't think.
No, actually I thought he did really well on
RJ?
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought his length kind of bothered RJ in after a hot start. That I did not see that coming with RJ Barrett kind of setting the tone for the Knicks early.
He's had a weird year.
Really weird year. Intriguing player, but I don't still know what to think of him.
I think they don't either, and he's on a second contract now, which is a little problematic. Or at least he's signed it by now, I'm pretty sure. I think Brook Lopez is pretty obvious here.
Is it that obvious?
I think, yeah.
I think I would go with the Rohan.
Really?
No, I will say he was 2 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks short of a 5x5.
So
he was 50% off in each category.
Yes.
A little less. I mean,
it's like going from 5 seasons
40% off, excuse me.
Rough Ruffman to the Rough Ruffman show.
Goddamn Rough Ruffman. And now I swore. Now I did the thing. I'm not going to count it. I don't think that counts. I just felt like he was so important defensively. I know he didn't shoot the 3 very well.
He's already in the 30s.
Okay. Can we call it a half?
No.
What?
We don't do halves.
The informal half.
No
so
the informal half. Informal half, yes.
Yeah, if he has another game akin to this one, I think he deserves it. But I'm okay.
Yes, for sure.
Take it easy. Our guy Malik Beasley, probably for sure. I mean, are we talking 2 for this game?
I think 1.
1.
We gave him 2 when he went thermonuclear. So
he kind of went thermonuclear defensively, though, is my thought. I mean, this is the best 2-way game we've probably seen from him. And he hit 6 of 10 threes.
What's he at, 16?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with 2.
I mean, that will equalize him with Bobby, which I feel like is...
I think that's fair.
More than fair in this moment, in this season so far. Did we see enough from MarJon?
Flashes, but I don't think that...
We saw a good... We'll give him an informal half.
I'm fine with that. It's been a while since he's gotten an upstock. I think then the last one, I guess. Oh,
AJ Green?
AJ Green's easy. Oh, never mind. I was looking at Livingston.
AJ Green's an up.
It's an up? Yeah, I think he continues to and he does the other stuff well still.
Yeah.
AJ Green?
Yeah, up to 9. Campaign, does he get another one, or do we chill because he just got one up to 12?
We'll chill.
It's a nice game. It was a good game though.
We'll chill. We'll give them another half.
But are we only chilling because we gave out a lot already? I mean, this was probably their best win. This was probably their best win of the season.
It was their best win of the season, easily. I think the fact that it wasn't, I don't know, it's weird. The part of the stock element of this is like, do you still give them a stock even though that all the starters besides Brook were lights out? You had guys flash on the bench. Like Campaign's 12 points were needed tonight, but they also won by 24. Like it's stuff like that I always think, how does that determine the stock?
Yeah. I'll wait out. Definitely an informal half. I mean, just the game.
Yeah.
I mean, he's 5 for 6 from the field. They won his bench minutes by 7 points. 12 points.
But is that what we're starting to expect?
No. We expected it to be pretty good half the time, but this was quite good, I would say.
Okay. Are we doing the 6 ups then? Given Campaign enough? What do you say, Jordan? Final decision.
Yeah, that's
up
fair.
or down?
I'll let Jordan determine.
I mean, I once upon a time I did like soda. Do we give out 7? 7 up?
I'm in.
So who's the 7th up then?
Campaign.
I mean, we had 6 or 5 before that.
Oh yeah, 7 movements.
Oh.
Do we give Griffin 1 to make it 7 up? I don't know.
Let's do it.
Do we? Well, let's talk it through. Let's not just do it.
Let's stir some shit.
Oh, now it's definitely explicit. Jordan. He's still sitting at 3. He has not had
running
any
out
movement.
of characters on this tweet.
He has not had any movement since game 11. He got an upstart.
I'm out of characters. We actually can't give Griffin.
Well, you can just put last names. People will know. We can do some maneuvering on the tweet.
KG Griff?
Okay, I'll take out Antetokounmpo.
Just put Giannis. People. I think they'll figure it out. But have we seen enough from Griffin for an upstock? It's a real question.
I think so. I think this offense is really coming together.
And I mean they've clicked. I mean, I have the numbers up now since they started dropping. They are 13th in defense, 3rd in offense, and 3rd in net over a 17-game sample. So just cutting out those first 4 games. So I mean, they've been elite again, even though it kind of seems like they suck sometimes. When you look at the numbers, they've been an elite basketball team over more than a month now. And they're undefeated in the in-season tournament. They go to play Indiana on Thursday afternoon, Thursday at like 4:30 p.m. for some reason.
Yeah.
Which is super weird. But we'll do we will do a pregame pod for that matchup as well. Look out for that probably early on Thursday, I think. But not going to talk too much about it now, but make sure to tune in, try and get out of work early or pull it up at the office if you have to. Don't get fired, but don't want to miss. It's going to be an electric game. I mean, I think the Bucks will be looking for some revenge without Dame, and I'm really excited that it's the Pacers. Hopefully Tyrese Halliburton doesn't have too many more heroics left in the tank. I mean, by God, against Boston.
I will say, it'll be fun if he does.
It'll be fun if he has like just barely not enough. The last crazy pull-up 3 rims out, and it's a Bucks win. And they get to go play either the Lakers, the Suns, or the Pelicans.
Who are, as we're recording, Lakers and Suns are tied up right now. It's a good game.
Really? I thought the Lakers were up like 12.
No, it's a tie game.
My bracket's looking good, folks.
I think Kevin Durant is happening.
That'll happen. So my bracket was everything that's happened so far, Suns win, and then Bucks-Suns final, which I think that's probably about as good as you could get for the in-season tournament, given the teams that came in.
Are you trying to think about ratings there, Ty?
I'm really focused on ratings, and I think that's going to be horrible ratings because nobody who likes basketball is like, do I want to see a finals rematch of one of the best finals in recent history? Do I want to see,
or do I watch Ruffman?
Ruffman.
I think my answer is very
that's actually what they're calling the new season of Winning Time about this year's Lakers. Ruffman, the Darvin Ham story. Sorry, Darvin. I love you. LA doesn't. I do. Oof. That would be an awesome. I mean, that matchup. I think that would be the most excited. Like I think that for the in-season tournament final, the KD rematch, the Suns rematch. 2 elite superstars on both ends. I mean, that would be fun. I'm here for fun.
Oh yeah, definitely here for fun, and definitely here for the Bucks making that in-season tournament final.
Vegas,
Hopefully
baby.
they can. Vegas, baby.
The rich get richer.
That was so funny. Giannis. I don't know if he's intentionally this funny, but he's one of the funniest dudes with just random quotes.
Did you see this, Jordan?
I did.
I
did
on the spot. For those who didn't see it, he was getting interviewed after the game by TNT, and they told him about the $100,000 that he had gotten as the minimum cash prize for going to Vegas. It'll get up to $500,000 if they win the in-season tournament. And I think Giannis said, "Oh, we get money for this." And he's like, "Yeah, you're just learning about this." It's like, "Hey, rich get richer." It's like,
hey, it's an important thing though. There's people already worried about how the Bucks could re-sign Malik Beasley, and it is going to be difficult the way he's playing. But you know, just hey, in the negotiations, hey, you know, vet min plus. You know, we're a tournament team, baby. At least $100K this year, next year. Factor that in before you make your final decision. Could be looking at an extra $1 million over 2 years, Malik. Something to think about.
Cup material.
Big cup team. I can't believe you didn't make it. Did you make a single Terry Stotts joke on the pod, Jordan?
No, I
Very
learned the
proud of
error
you.
of my ways. I did tweet about it though.
It was in the chat too. Somebody put it in chat. It might have been Andrew, and people were liking that.
He did win a cup run.
Couldn't withstand the pressure of the in-season tournament NBA Cup.
I think Andrew said the Rough Ruffman show lasted longer than Terry Stotts.
Oh,
is this the new Kardashian marriage?
Yeah, the length of the Rough Ruffman show, less than a month.
Andrew confirms. Also, one last thing, unless you guys have other stuff. The TNT crew disrespecting what AJ Green did at Northern Iowa by only compiling Division I single elimination tournament statistics, I believe, for their graphic. Disrespectful. That man had.
I watched Valley Sports Wisconsin, so I had no idea of this.
I mean, it wasn't actually disrespectful, but you know, you discount what a guy does, neutral site versus Drake, and you see what happens. You see what happens.
Also, I love that they're comparing NCAA tournament games when the Bucks have literally won an NBA title.
Not single elimination though, so that doesn't really factor in at all.
If we're talking high pressure situations,
nope. Different. The Nova guys, I mean, you saw out there, they clearly had an edge.
Clearly. What did Dante put up in this game?
It was honestly, I expected more of a revenge game, and it didn't happen.
7 points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know the little drama with Randall and the Knicks, by the way, before this season?
No.
Do you know the Knicks have their CAA and Nova thing that's like their fetish?
Oh,
he
He left CAA, yeah.
That's right.
Turns out being the salary chunk in every star trade they lust over is not good for a relationship. Who would have known?
Who would have thought?
Who would have thunk it?
Oh, man. Do we have anything else we need to cover on this pod here?
I have a couple more Ruffman thoughts, but we can save that for our next episode, Rohan.
So, Fetch with Rough Ruffman is a reality-based game show where young contestants take on various challenges to gain points. During these challenges, they must complete various tasks assigned to them ahead of time and on the fly by rough and surrogates, depending on the situation. There is also an educational component, as contestants must often learn something such as astronomy, puzzles, carpentry, engineering, food science, biology, chemistry, physics, and mathematics to complete the task.
You can't just put puzzles in like it's a field like the rest of us.
Yeah.
I majored in puzzles.
Cultural references and guest stars.
Is there a video game? Can we make Numox stream the video game on his Twitch?
Oh.
There's the rough states at one point. I feel like Shaq in the free throw line referencing Shaquille O'Neal. It all comes back to basketball, baby.
They released Fetch Talk, which is a TikTok-based challenge where Ruff asked viewers to record themselves performing his challenges and posting them on the app.
I don't have any rough stuff left, and now I kind of regret bringing it back there because I think we got more.
Main characters.
Yep.
Rough Ruffman. Blossom, whose full name is Princess Blossom Pepperdoodle Von Yum Yum. And then Chet. Blossom Pepperdoodle Von Yum Yum.
This Jim Conroy fella, he really is his voice is all over these characters.
Oh my goodness.
Now Numox fact checking me on if UNI is D1 or not.
It is D1.
They've been in the Division 2 tournament too, but that was a long time ago.
Oh my goodness. Okay, if we're talking about D2, we should probably wrap this up here. We should only focus on
I guess that's
things.
my L. I thought
on important things. Back to rough.
Yeah. Let's get back to rough. Sorry about that.
What's up? Say thank you for listening to this Gyro Step Win in 6 crossover here on GSPN. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you are listening to this, whether you're watching it live here on YouTube. We appreciate everyone who's tuned in live. Make sure you're subscribed and turned on notifications so you know next time we go live. And like Ty mentioned up top, we are going to have you guys covered. We're going to have a Pacers preview podcast. We're going to have a post-game podcast after Bucks Pacers on Thursday. And if they advance to the in-season tournament finals, we will also have you covered with pre and post-game coverage here at GSPN. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you're listening to this, whether that be in your podcast platform of choice or watching as YouTube, like I mentioned earlier. Check out gspn.info for all of our links to all of our podcasts. Pod Random, and we will talk to you next time.